Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Life Vision Lab podcast, the space where we peel back the layers of who we are, how we function, and what it really takes to live a life that feels aligned at the deepest level. If you've been listening to me for a while, we don't do surface level conversations around here. We go right to the root. We talk about anxiety, we talk about burnout, we talk about nervous system dysregulation, and the silent toll that hustle culture has taken on so many of us. Because I genuinely believe that clarity and alignment aren't mindset only concepts, they're physiological experiences as well. Your body has to feel safe for your mind to feel clear. Your nervous system has to be regulated for your intuition to speak. And your internal world has to be grounded for you to show up with authenticity, joy, and purpose in your external world. And so many of us, especially high achievers, leaders, and women carrying multiple roles on our shoulders, we've spent years pushing through fatigue, ignoring our body's whispers, and assuming that feeling off is normal. We normalize anxiety, we normalize exhaustion, we normalize weight fluctuations, brain fog, bloating, irritability, sleepless nights, and we just call it life. But it doesn't have to be. And that's why today's episode is so important, because the conversation we're about to have sits right in the intersection of clarity, nervous system, health, intentional living, and the science of the body. Everything we've been building towards in the last few episodes. Today, we're connecting the dots. I am so excited because we have an incredible guest joining us today. Someone whose work is transforming the lives, health, and energy of high-performing women all over the world. Chelsea Mcleod is a corporate dropout, I love that she calls herself that, turned hormone and gut health coach. And in just 18 months, she supported over 200 busy, driven women, many of them moms, leaders, and business owners, to look and feel amazing fast. Without cardio, without fad diets, without shame, Chelsea is a certified integrative health practitioner. She works with clients globally, from Sydney to Amsterdam to New York, and she's the founder of the Healthy Hustle Method, a powerful system that's delivering rapid root cause results for women leaders at Amazon, LinkedIn, McKinsey, Google, Reebok, and to name many more, and even C-suite leaders and elite entrepreneurs. This is going to be such an important conversation. Chelsea, welcome to the Life Vision Lab podcast. I'm so happy you're here.
I'm so excited for our conversation today. I'm really looking forward
Me
to it.
too. So, Chelsea, you spent over 13 years working for a global brand and even led a $60 million e-commerce business. What was that moment, or maybe this season, that made you say, something's not right? My body, my energy, my life, they're not aligned. I need to pivot.
For so many years, I just burned the candle at both ends and I thought it was normal, right? Because everyone around me was also exhausted. Everyone else was stressed out. Everyone else was on meetings until 8 p.m. and taking calls early in the morning, checking their email first thing as soon as their eyes opened. And that's just the
Mhm.
culture that couldn't see the water I was swimming in. And so there was just always this deep hum of stress and exhaustion beneath the hood, but I could keep it at bay with enough coffee and enough sweet treats and enough workouts to make sure that I wasn't getting
Yes.
overweight. And so it just came to a point where as I was approaching 30, my body just couldn't keep up
Mm.
anymore. And so that's where I started to look for answers. That's where I was putting in all these workouts and doing all the things and eating salads, and I didn't feel or look the way I
Mhm.
wanted to. And I was also starting to take on more responsibility at work because I was promoted to a director role and I was hiring and firing and traveling to a new country in Asia or Australia every other
Mhm.
week. And at that point, I just knew that not only was this not sustainable, but I had to take action to actually give my body more of what it needed and less of what it didn't.
Mhm.
And so I worked with my own health practitioner at the time who was very deeply rooted in natural medicine. And I got these incredible results that happened very
Mhm.
quickly. I was sleeping through the night for the first time in
Wow.
decades. I saw my skin clear up. My skin just started to glow. I was getting compliments from colleagues. I lost 15 pounds without changing much about my workout regimen. And so I just said, why did more women not know about this? I think we become so accustomed to suffering and so accustomed to, I have to put in the work. This isn't going to be fun for me, but I just have to kind of silently suffer. And it's just not the case. And so after, quitting my corporate job, I guess let's first talk about the order of operations has to be right. I started helping other people.
Mm,
And I started helping my mom and my colleagues because I went back to school for integrative
mhm,
health to really learn how to do
mhm.
this. And the results were so good that I had too many clients. I was in Shanghai trying to do a workshop with my team, but I had just closed 5 new clients that I was trying to onboard. And I was like, this is no longer sustainable for
Yeah.
me. So I have to really, if I'm going to do this and really help women heal at scale, I have to go all in on this and trust that it's going to
Right.
work.
And so and I love that you said that we've gotten so used to it. We think it's normal. In fact, you have people who tell you that, do you really want to grow in your corporate career? Because we hear that you can never take care of yourself and home becomes second, you become second, your health is not a priority. And so we've sort of made it a norm, right? And so a lot of women even shy away from taking on some of the important leadership roles because of this narrative that we have around our health. So you work with incredibly driven women, women who are disciplined, committed, and doing all the right things, and still they feel exhausted, inflamed, bloated, wired but tired, and unable to lose weight. Why are high achievers so uniquely vulnerable to hormone and gut imbalances? So I want to dive straight into that conversation now. What's happening inside their bodies?
I always say women who have high output careers, they're exercising a lot, a lot of them have kids, they have unusual demands on their time, their energy, their schedule.
Mhm.
I call them calendar crammers. They're just crammed back to back to back. These women have to treat their health differently because the same things that work for the average woman who has a very average job and an average schedule and an average whatever, it's not the
Mhm.
same. And so we have to treat ourselves specially as a special case because we really are. We're a lot of the time in our masculine. We're over functioning, we're overdoing, we are not giving our body enough of the raw material it needs to produce hormones. And that comes in the way of high vibrational foods, movement that actually makes sense with our cycle,
Right.
rest, like a word that most women don't know what it actually means and how to use stress
They even
or
feel
how to use
guilty if
rest
they
as
actually
part of the
think
strategy.
about rest.
It's women feel guilt and shame around
Mhm.
rest rather than seeing it as part of the strategy. And so I teach women how to, it sounds so simple, but obviously we have to lift up the hood and look at what's going on with hormones and gut and do the functional medicine lab testing. That gives us some of those answers where we can really laser target the protocol towards that issue. But at the same time, we have to look at all the different pillars of foundational health that really contribute to women looking and feeling the way they want to. And I always say it's sometimes the really small things that women don't take seriously
Mhm.
enough. They think it's going to be some fancy supplement or some fancy thing. And don't get me wrong, we do use very fancy
Right.
things that are grounded in science, but we also can't look past the critical contributions of just rest, good food, making sure we're
Mhm.
sleeping, making sure we're learning how to nurture our nervous system, just these core pillars of human health.
Mhm. Amazing. And in this community, we talk a lot about nervous system overload. And you talk about something very similar, the stress stack. Can you break that down, especially for women balancing corporate roles, motherhood, leadership, entrepreneurship, caregiving, all that invisible load?
Yeah, we sometimes forget that we're human
Mhm.
beings, right? And that human beings have a finite amount of resources and energy. And so when we don't treat our bodies in a way that allows us to keep up with life's demands, it's highly taxing on our nervous system. And so for a lot of women, I will see there's elevations in cortisol, which is a stress hormone that gives you an indication of where your nervous system sits in all of this, right? And so I think a lot of women will have elevated cortisol for
Mhm.
years because they're stressed at work, they're not eating the right
Mhm.
things, they're over exercising or under exercising because too much of anything or too little of
Mhm.
anything can be stressful for your
Right.
nervous system. And so it's really finding that balance. And so for a lot of women, they think cortisol is a bad thing. Cortisol itself is not a bad thing. We need cortisol to help us get up and go in the
Mhm.
morning, but we need balanced cortisol.
Mm.
We need to be making cortisol at the right time of day. So for some women, they're exhausted in the morning and then they're wired at
Right.
night. And that's typically what we call adrenal fatigue, where cortisol is being produced at the wrong time of day in the wrong
Mm.
amounts. So we just need to look at things like that are indicative of stress
Mhm.
and really use those targeted protocols to help almost manipulate your cortisol levels back to where they should be.
Right. That makes so much sense. Yeah. And a lot of women believe they need to eat less, move more, push harder, and everything is about pushing ourselves to do more when actually that information is in these subtleties that you're talking about, right? And I feel when you keep pushing ourselves more and more, we often make things even worse. And so, can you explain why cardio and restrictive dieting can backfire on our hormones?
If you take a woman who is highly stressed, she's not sleeping a
Mhm.
lot, her cycle is all over the place, she is in back to back meetings all day, every day, and just snicky snacking in between meetings wherever she can. And you just restrict calories and put her on a treadmill at Barry's boot camp, she is going to
Mm.
suffer. And what I mean by that is her energy will
Mhm.
tank. She will have
Mhm.
cravings. She'll be reaching for all the chocolate. She'll be having coffee every hour on the hour. And chances are she will not be eating in a way that's actually in alignment
Mhm.
with her hormones. And so, for a lot of women, that can lean out to just hormonal
Mhm.
burnout. It can lead to blood sugar dysregulation that makes it really hard to burn fat.
Right.
And so, for a lot of women, we really have to look at bringing that structure back into the day where they're getting meals at regular
Mhm.
times. And let's not discount the fact that in order to lose weight, you do have to be in a calorie
Mhm.
deficit. But a lot of women take it so
Mhm.
far to the point that they starve themselves, end up ricocheting
Right.
back, and then gaining all the weight back and then more. So it's more about a sustainable approach to eating in a way that actually helps you release weight
Mhm.
without feeling starving all the
Mhm.
time, which is where women start to really see results.
Mhm.
I see women overexercise all the time and they don't have the physical result. So they might look puffy, they don't have the body composition, they aren't the size they want, even though they're going to the spin class and they're going to the Orange Theory. And that's why sometimes I go to these spin classes and I'm like, no one has the physique that they want.
Mhm.
And you see the same people going to do the same classes for 5, 6 years in a row. And it's like, is it working?
Right.
Is it working? Your hormones are not balanced, which is going to make this a lot harder.
Mhm.
And I always tell women your diet and your exercise are so much more effective when your hormones are balanced
Right.
first. So we have to get the order of
Right.
operations right.
Yeah, no, that makes so much sense. And I love that you mentioned, and I want to go a little deeper on this, if that's okay with you, Chelsea. When you look at women who are working out so much, they think they're eating right. Why do we look puffy, especially women after 40? There's a sense of inflammation that we feel in our body. And I just turned 40 last year and I can already see it. It's like I breathe. So I always joke around. I breathe and I put on weight. So why do you think that happens?
You know what? It's so funny. I just did a podcast on this exact thing and it's launching tomorrow. So I'll have to send it to
Yeah.
you. But there's so many reasons why we are puffy. And a lot of it has to do with inflammation and water retention.
Mhm.
Now, this is especially difficult for women over 35 because we've been on the planet longer. We've had more taxing to our nervous
Mhm.
system. And it's not necessarily that, you just turn 40 and your metabolism slows down, because that's actually not the case.
Mhm.
It's that your body has a bigger toxic load.
Mhm.
It has higher inflammation because you've damaged your gut from years of medication or chronic stress or eating the wrong foods, that your gut is compromised, so that can create systemic inflammation. Your you don't understand how your hormones and your cycle work, so you're training or eating the wrong things at the wrong time, and even just having certain things like endocrine disruptors that can be in our beauty products, or there's just so many ways that different toxins can enter our body and different stressors can impact our body and our inflammation levels. We also have things like over exercising and just knowing that sometimes in the back half of your cycle you just retain water. So this is why when I have a client come into my 6-month program, we need to look at all of these things together to figure out what is actually the root cause of the puffiness. Is it stored toxins? Is it hormonal? Like maybe your estrogen is backlogged because your liver isn't working, so therefore you're retaining water, because when your estrogen is elevated or the estrogen to progesterone ratio is not quite
Mm.
right, you can kind of tend to swell and you just retain water, and it's not necessarily fat, it's just water weight and it sits there. And so for a lot of women, they might even have elevated
Mhm.
cortisol, which can also help you retain water. So we have to look and really look at this holistically and understand what is causing that for the woman
Mhm.
so that we can start to release that water weight quickly, get the lymph moving, get the liver working, get food sensitivities out of their diet so that they're not causing further inflammation,
Mhm.
and get them feeling good fast.
Amazing. And so your healthy hustle method is producing results that honestly look impossible in the first glance. So can you walk us through how it works? The functional labs you spoke about earlier, the targeted protocols, the step-by-step process, and why the results happen so quickly.
So I would be remiss without saying that it's really important to know the type of woman I work with who produces these
Mm-hmm.
results. And so I think there's a lot of coaches who work with people who are a little bit slow to take action. They're kind of on the fence. They're not sure if they actually want to make real change. I work with women who want the result. They're not perfect. They're not doing everything by the books necessarily, but they want the result. And I think that's really important because a lot of women move really slowly in coaching containers because they haven't actually decided they want to become the person. They haven't decided what result they want. They haven't decided they actually want to release the weight. And so for the women I work with, they come in and they take action and they get
Mm-hmm.
results. And that doesn't mean following a diet plan to perfection. That means taking imperfect action every day and taking radical responsibility for your results, knowing where you're trying to go. And and so that's why women get results. I had one woman join last week. She lost 5 pounds in one
Wow.
week. She went from 170 to 165. And that was just through strategic diet changes, starting her hormone rebalancing supplements, changing her workout
Mm-hmm.
slightly, restructuring her meal times, moving coffee after breakfast to stabilize her adrenals, giving her body more
Mm-hmm.
nutrients through nutrient dense meals. She just actioned her personalized protocol, and that's what happens. And so for women across the 6 months, I mean, 20 pounds in the first 3 months is a very average result. That's to be expected pretty
Mm-hmm.
much for women who come through. But I hold them to a high
Mm-hmm.
standard, right? We move quickly and because I work with executives, I work with business owners. They don't have time to
Yes.
waste. They're just like, I want this muffin top gone by Christmas. What can you do for me? I just had a sales call yesterday with a woman who was like, can I lose 15 pounds by Christmas? And I was like, yeah. If you start today, absolutely you
Mhm.
can. I've seen it happen. And so that's where we start because it's holistic,
Mm.
because it's not just a diet and exercise plan,
Mhm.
because we're also really working with your inflammation levels, we're working with your hormones. It's just so much faster. And so could women get a similar result working with the nutritionist?
Mhm.
Maybe if their hormones aren't messed
Mhm.
up. Could they get a similar result with a personal trainer? Maybe if their hormones are balanced. But 4 out of 5 women have a hormonal imbalance, which just explains why the diet and exercise isn't
Doesn't
working.
work. No, that's so true. And that's such an amazing example you give because, again, a lot of us think there has to be a certain diet or a certain workout we need to do. We go in for high intensity workouts and it just stresses our body without looking at that holistic picture, right? And so your clients experience things like 8 to 10 lb lost in the first 3 weeks. I'm being conservative based on the example you just gave me. Dress sizes dropping, clearer skin, better sleep, more energy, reduced inflammation. And then the big one for me is healing PCOS because I suffered to PCOS growing up.
Mm.
And I know diet is so important, sleep is so important, just the lifestyle changes that you need to make to fully integrate into your day to day, right? What is behind
Mhm.
these sort of rapid results? Is it mindset? I think, as you said, you work with high performers, high achievers. They want the results. So they do know if they want the results, they have to put in the work. And so, can you give me an example of one crazy transformation story that still gives you chills?
Oh my goodness, there are so many, but I think before I share an example, I'll just share why I think it works so fast. It's number 1, the protocol has to be
Mm,
realistic. It cannot be restrictive. It cannot feel like a diet. They're trying to do it perfectly and white knuckling their way through it until the day that they just say, this is over.
mhm,
So it feels like they're strapping in for the long haul. It's not January 1st and I'm doing this crazy juice cleanse for 3 weeks. It's no, I want a lifestyle
mhm,
change. And I'm prepared to accept some of the challenges that come with the lifestyle change that first week. So I had one client who she actually just had her on my podcast, but she had quit her job to start a
Mm-hmm.
business. And she had 3 children at home, all under the age of
Mm-hmm.
5. And her husband was working, but he wasn't the highest income
Mm-hmm.
earner. There was a lot of pressure on her
Mm-hmm.
as well. And so she saw me post on LinkedIn because I had just done a seminar for the LinkedIn HQ to all of their female leaders. And it was really cool. And she just saw that because one of my friends had posted and commented
Mm-hmm.
on it. And she messaged me straight away and said, I need to speak with you today. And I was, okay, I have 15 minutes at this time. Can we jump on a call? And she was like, yeah. And she was like, I'm exhausted. My brain is not working. I'm 20 pounds heavier than I normally am. And I don't feel like I'm in my own body. My sister's wedding is coming up and I want to heal. I also want to lose as much weight as possible for this wedding, but I also know that this is bigger than this. And if I'm able to figure out this piece, I will be able to heal myself. I will be able to be a better mother. I will be able to actually get this business off the
Mm-hmm.
ground. And, I talked to her about the program and how it worked. And she was, I can't afford this, but I'm going to figure this out. And so I trust you. I'm not the type of person who tries to close people on sales
Mm-hmm.
calls and try to get the payment, because at the end of the day, the most important thing is that they're a good fit for me, I'm a good fit for them, and that I'm not putting them in financial hardship by
For
doing
sure.
this. And so I was like, you know what? You go figure out your situation. This is here if you want
Mm-hmm.
it. There is a spot for you right now. There's a spot open. Just let me know how you want to proceed. And she messaged me the next day saying, "Hey, I'm going to take money out of my mortgage offset account because I know I need this, and I know this came into my life at the exact right moment." And I was like, "Okay, if that's what you want, let's get you in here. Let's do it." And she did it. Paid in full. She took action straight away.
Mm-hmm.
Started her protocol on day 1. She was not wasting any time. She made those changes, and she said week 1 was hard because all the things that she was doing on autopilot were not work. She had to change them. So it's like waking up, having the coffee, having the croissant, getting the kids off to school. She had to start changing some of those little things.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, the first week, she hated
Mm-hmm.
it. She hated me. She hated everyone around her. She didn't feel good. But she also knew, because she had become sober
Mm-hmm.
8 years prior. She was like, I've done this
Right.
before. I've made changes before. I know that the first week is the
Mm-hmm.
hardest. So I'm going to choose to stay in the game, even though I know it's hard, because the result is important to
Right.
me. And she did it, and she lost, I think it was 7 kgs, which is about 15 pounds in the first 6 weeks.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so she pretty much almost hit her weight loss goal in under 2 months, and she proceeded to lose more. She lost a total of, I think it was around 10
Mm-hmm.
kgs. And, this is not a woman who was super overweight. She was just carrying some extra weight in the middle. And so she healed her
Mm-hmm.
migraines, her brain is firing, her energy levels are just through the roof. She started her podcast, she launched her membership,
Wow.
she is parenting her children in a different way. And so it's like, these results do not take
Mm-hmm.
long. They just take intentional movement for women who really want to heal.
Amazing. And I also know that I have to take a moment. That was such a strong story, transformation story that you shared with us. I mean, if anybody has any doubts that they can't lose weight or they don't know how to, at least that story allows them to expand their mind and say, yes, this is absolutely doable. You just have to have the right support. I know you say you also support high performing men, C-suite leaders, entrepreneurs, athletes. What are the biggest hormone issues you're seeing in men today, especially around testosterone? And how do you help them reset it? Because I've heard so many men around as well who have issues, again, because of the hustle culture that we have.
Low testosterone, high
Mm,
cortisol, and they typically go hand in
mm,
hand. So I also see some thyroid imbalances with
mhm,
men. So for a high performing man who, especially, he's traveling a lot, he's on a plane a lot, he has children at home, a lot of financial responsibility. These men are struggling to keep up with their bodies. And a lot of them, it's interesting, they go to the gym.
mhm,
They think they're eating the right things. It's just they don't have that holistic protocol to pull it all together and make sure that they're actually giving their body what it needs.
mhm,
And so I see a ton of guys who are smashing it in the gym, they're smashing in their careers, and they're just like, what is this inner tube around my belly. Where is my sex
Mm-hmm.
drive? So they're seeing those low testosterone symptoms. And I work with the men who don't want to go to the doctor and get a pill. They want to be like, I don't want to have to take a pill to do
Mm-hmm.
this. I want my natural, my masculinity, my energy, my drive back. And so with these men, we really get to work on the cortisol levels, working on their nutrition, working on boosting their testosterone using very targeted
Mm-hmm.
protocols. And I mean, I've seen massive improvements in testosterone very rapidly, 4 to 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing. And so every woman and a man listening right now who's thinking, I'm exhausted, I feel off, I don't have time to overhaul my life, where do they start? Maybe one habit, one ritual, one food, one shift that you can share with people listening.
For women, I would say moving coffee after
Mm,
breakfast is really powerful.
mm,
And really making breakfast that really dialed in meal of the day. There's so many women who are out there skipping breakfast because their cortisol is so elevated that they're not
mhm,
hungry. But one of the best things you can do is just get that protein rich breakfast. A lot of fruits, a lot of veggies, also a nice protein. I do a lot of smoothies with my clients. That works really well for very busy
mhm,
people who don't have time to
mhm,
make an omelet in the morning. They just chuck a bunch of stuff in a blender, make sure that they hit their protein target and they cruise and they feel amazing. And then pulling coffee after
mhm,
breakfast, uncomfortable for the first 2 days and then makes a massive game changer from there on out.
mhm,
Men tend to give them the same advice, but they're a little bit less sensitive to stress than women. So
mhm,
sometimes men can get away with the longer fast.
mhm,
Sometimes they can get away with the bulletproof coffee
mhm.
trend. But for women, a woman with PCOS or a woman
Right.
who's dealing with hormonal imbalances,
Right.
we're not even doing
Yeah.
that. So for men, one of the best things they can do is walking after meals
Mm,
to help with their blood sugar
mhm,
rises, really getting a protein rich diet, reducing high inflammation foods. So anything that they couldn't, I always say if you can't recreate it in your kitchen, just take it out for a couple
mhm.
weeks. So that's cookies,
Right.
bread, crackers, packaged
Yeah.
snacks, and just focusing on real food.
Mm. That's amazing. And I want to talk a little bit because we're talking about the difference of how men and women react to certain diets and certain routines and habits. There's this whole conversation going on and research I was reading around cold water bath, right? Like everybody says you wake up in the morning and you have to have this ice cold plunge. Is it true that it's good for women too? Because I don't think the research really supports that it's good for women. I think it's okay for men, but not for women.
So this is where bioindividuality is really
Mm,
important. And knowing where someone's hormones are at in this very moment. Because the reality is, let's call cold plunging a hermetic stressor. So it's a good stressor for the body where you're conditioning your nervous
mm-hmm.
system to be more resilient. We want that. We want those stressors.
Right.
Exercise is that, cold plunges, all those things. But when you take a woman who's losing her hair, she's highly
Mm-hmm.
stressed. She's not eating the right things. She's in survival mode. She can barely get pregnant because her body just can't function. That woman, the last thing she should be doing is getting in a cold
Mm-hmm.
plunge. There are 50 million things that she should be doing to stabilize her nervous system before she adds an extra stressor. So it's like, I'm more interested in helping women balance their hormones
Mm-hmm.
first. And then once they're healthy and balanced, they've fixed the problem that they came to me for, then let's do some cold plunges. Then let's do some more intense saunas and contrast therapy and some of those more biohacky
Mm-hmm.
things, but it's never where I would start with a woman
Mm-hmm.
who just wants to stabilize inflammation, release weight, and fix her sleep.
Amazing. And I love that you cleared that up for us. And that's intuitively, I thought that's right. Like that your approach, right? Just thinking through, because if your body's already stressed, do you want to really put it through more stress through these biohacking systems
Mhm.
that people are trying? But that's an amazing insight that you gave us. Thank you. You have a powerful mission to help a million women worldwide heal their hormones. You're creating a corporate hormone education program. You're building a scalable health program for underprivileged women. What does this vision look like to you, and why is this work so important?
I view hormonal imbalances and disease
Mhm,
that is happening in women as a result of their lifestyle and navigating a food system that is really difficult as a crisis, one of the biggest crises that we will see in our lifetime. And we're already seeing that in America. You're in Canada, so I would say it's probably not as intense there. But I mean, in America, we've never had higher rates of cancer, obesity, heart disease. It's like people don't know what they don't know.
Mm.
And they're also really struggling it's almost like living naturally and living healthily has become biohacking because we have to hack this whole system. We have to hack the way we eat. It's so hard to find real food. People think they're eating the right things, but then you turn the package around and it has 30 different random chemicals in it.
Mhm.
And so it's like one of my friends from Canada just visited a couple weeks ago and she was at a Whole Foods, which is a healthy store. And she was sending me these photos of random snacks. And she was like, "What is this? Like, what is in your food supply? This is disgraceful." And I'm like, look, I don't make the rules. I just teach people how to navigate the system because it's really hard. And so obviously right now I'm in a position where I am helping those women who have the means to do so.
Mhm.
But I want to help women who don't.
Mhm.
And I don't come from a wealthy
Mhm.
family. I have a lot of people who've come through my networks and my families and my parents' friends and people I grew up with who they can't afford a high ticket health coaching program,
Mhm.
which of course it's worth every penny and the results people say are life changing. And so they would pay twice over, but it's not accessible to
Right.
everyone. And so I watch women who I grew up with who don't have incomes, who have breast cancer at age 27.
Mm.
And I'm like, I could have helped
Mm.
prevent that because I know how disease in the body
Mm.
works and I know what conditions fuel cancer and disease and I know that what I'm teaching women how to do helps prevent that. And so I have a really big heart to serve. I just need to get my business big enough to the point that I can actually hire a team and make an app and build a scalable delivery and figure it out because I'm while I'm a health coach, that's not necessarily what I identify myself as. I really identify myself as a mentor and a thought leader in the space of someone who can really change the way women look and feel on a mass scale. And so that's kind of the direction I'm going with now with my podcast. And I want to build an app. And so I've just started that process, but sometimes it feels so big and it's really scary. But I know the right people and the right opportunities will come along that'll help me get there.
Amazing. And I want that for you, Chelsea, because you're doing some really amazing work, and I wish that comes through. And so now we're going to get into a little bit of a rapid fire, playful, light energy round. And so, whatever comes to mind first, no second guessing, I want you to answer right away. One myth about women's hormones you want to break.
That you just have to move more and eat less.
Mm. One daily ritual you never skip.
Warm water and electrolytes first thing in the morning.
Mm. One sign your body is begging for support.
You're exhausted in the afternoon and have raging sugar cravings.
One belief you wish every woman would release.
That resting makes you lazy.
I love that. One habit of food you swear by.
Always pairing your carbohydrates with a protein and fat.
Mm. And not fiber.
So fiber is typically in whatever
Mm.
carbohydrate, but yes, fiber as well can be really
Mhm.
helpful.
And so, one leadership lesson your body has taught you.
That you can't pour from an empty cup.
That's amazing. I love it, Chelsea. Thank you so much for being here today. Your work is changing lives, and I know this conversation is going to give so many women and men, hopefully, the clarity and hope they've been looking for. For everyone listening, if you want to start feeling better right now, Chelsea has a free resource you can download, The Busy Girl's Guide to Weight Loss, a guide designed specifically for high achieving women who can't slow down but want to release the first 5 pounds, sleep better, and rebalance their hormones. And you can grab it at chelseamcleod.com/busy hyphen girl hyphen guide. And I'll link it down below in the description box. Thank you for spending this time with us. If this episode resonated, share it with someone who needs it, a colleague, a friend, a family member. And I'll see you in the next episode. Take good care and stay aligned. Thank you.
You're welcome.